Imagine a world, just a year from now, in 2025, where tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan reach a tipping point. This isn't a prediction, but a strategic exploration of what could happen if diplomacy fails and military conflict becomes a reality. Let's delve into a hypothetical scenario, analyzing the military strengths and potential strategies of both nations. Pakistan, a recognized military power, boasts a large, well-equipped, and professionally trained armed forces. Its army numbers over 500,000 active personnel, supported by a significant reserve force. They operate modern main battle tanks, advanced artillery systems, and a fleet of attack helicopters. The Pakistan Air Force is a formidable entity, flying sophisticated fighter jets like the JF-17 Thunder and the F-16 Fighting Falcon, giving them a clear advantage in controlling the skies. And let's not forget the Pakistan Navy, which, while not directly bordering Afghanistan, plays a crucial role in securing maritime interests and projecting power. On the other side, the Afghan military presents a different picture. Since 2021, their armed forces have been restructured. While exact numbers are hard to verify, they possess a large and motivated infantry. Their primary strength lies in their extensive experience with asymmetric and guerrilla warfare. Honed over decades of conflict, they are masters of their own terrain. The rugged mountains and deep valleys of Afghanistan provide a natural fortress. Their equipment largely consists of hardware left behind, a mix of Soviet-era and American-made weaponry, including armored vehicles, artillery, and a limited but functional air component of helicopters and transport planes. So, how would a conflict unfold? In our scenario, let's imagine the conflict begins with escalating border skirmishes. Pakistan, seeking a swift and decisive outcome, would likely initiate the first major phase. Their strategy would probably focus on overwhelming force. The Pakistan Air Force would aim to establish air supremacy within the first 48 hours, targeting Afghan command and control centers, air assets, and key military infrastructure. This shock and awe campaign would be designed to cripple Afghanistan's ability to coordinate a large-scale conventional defense. Simultaneously, Pakistani ground forces would likely launch a multi-pronged offensive. Armored divisions would push across the border in the flatter southern regions, aiming to capture key cities and sever supply lines. Special forces units could be deployed via helicopter deep inside Afghan territory to neutralize high-value targets and disrupt enemy movements. The objective would be clear: avoid a prolonged, drawn-out war by delivering a rapid, knockout blow. Pakistan's technological and conventional superiority would be the cornerstone of this initial strategy. They would leverage their advanced surveillance drones, real-time satellite imagery, and secure communications to maintain a significant operational advantage. However, Afghanistan's response would be anything but conventional. Recognizing their inability to win a head-to-head fight in the open, Afghan forces would likely melt away from the initial onslaught, trading space for time. This is where their true strength comes into play. They would activate a decentralized, nationwide resistance. Small, mobile units, intimately familiar with the local landscape, would begin a campaign of guerrilla warfare. Their targets wouldn't be armored columns, but the logistical tail that supports them. Supply convoys, fuel depots, and communication lines. The conflict would quickly transition from a conventional war to a grueling counterinsurgency. Every road, every mountain pass, and every village could become a potential battleground. The very terrain that Pakistan's heavy armor finds difficult to navigate becomes an ally. For the Afghan fighters, they would use hit-and-run tactics, ambushes, and improvise explosive devices to inflict a steady stream of casualties, aiming to erode the morale and political will of the invading force. For the Afghan military, victory isn't about capturing territory, but about outlasting the enemy and making the occupation politically and economically unsustainable for Pakistan. Now, let's consider the international reaction, a critical factor in any modern conflict. The global community would be in an uproar. The United Nations Security Council would convene emergency sessions, likely calling for an immediate ceasefire and the withdrawal of forces. Regional powers would be on high alert. Iran, to the west, and China, a close ally of Pakistan, would be deeply concerned about instability on their borders. Their diplomatic interventions could be crucial. The United States and its allies, having recently withdrawn from the region, would face a complex dilemma. While they would condemn the invasion, their appetite for direct military involvement would be virtually zero. Instead, their response would likely focus on diplomatic pressure, sanctions against the aggressor, and humanitarian aid for displaced populations. The conflict would create a massive refugee crisis, putting immense strain on neighboring countries and international aid organizations. Global media would be filled with images of the conflict, shaping public opinion and putting immense pressure on governments to act. As the weeks turn into months, the war would enter a brutal stalemate. Pakistan's military would control the major cities and highways, but their control would be tenuous. The countryside would effectively become a contested zone where Afghan resistance fighters operate with near impunity. The human cost would be immense on both sides. The Pakistani forces would face the psychological toll of a constant, low-level threat, while the Afghan population would endure the hardships of a country at war. The economic impact would be devastating. Pakistan's economy, already facing challenges, would be strained to its breaking point by the enormous cost of sustaining a large-scale military operation. International sanctions would further isolate the country. For Afghanistan, the war would shatter its already fragile economy, destroying infrastructure and disrupting agriculture, leading to widespread food shortages and a humanitarian catastrophe. In this phase, the war is no longer just about military might, but about economic endurance and national resolve. So, how does this hypothetical war end? A clear-cut military victory for either side seems unlikely. A prolonged occupation of Afghanistan has proven historically to be an impossible task. The most probable outcome would be a negotiated settlement brokered by international powers. After months of grinding conflict, with both sides exhausted and facing immense internal and external pressure, a ceasefire would be declared. This would be followed by long, difficult peace talks. The final resolution might involve the establishment of a demilitarized zone along the border, the exchange of prisoners, and agreements on future security cooperation. But the scars of the conflict would remain. The loss of life, the destruction, and the deep-seated mistrust would poison relations for a generation. The region would be left more unstable than before, with the underlying issues that led to the conflict likely unresolved. This entire scenario is a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of war. It highlights that in modern conflict, true victory is elusive, and the human cost is always tragically high. While we've explored this as a strategic exercise, our hope is that diplomacy and mutual understanding will always prevail, making scenarios like this remain firmly in the realm of fiction. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you found this analysis insightful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our future explorations. Stay curious and stay safe.